All right, great. Let's go ahead and get started. And if more people come in, they'll be fine. They won't miss too much, but it looks like we have a good chunk of people already here. So welcome everyone. Thank you for coming and joining our session today. To learn more about the data science department, we have some professors and some students here to join our presentation and tell you what it's all about. My name is Emily Castillo. I'm an admissions counselor at WPI. And today I'm going to just pass it on to Professor Rudensteiner to kind of give the introduction and do the presentation. This is a Zoom webinar format, so you can see us, the panelists, but we cannot see you, the attendees. So we'll have the presentation and there is time for questions at the end. So feel free along the way to use that Q&A function to put any questions that you have along the way, and we'll get to them at the end as well. Great, so I'll turn it over to Professor Rudensteiner and start the session.
Oh, thank you, Emily. It's great meeting all of you, unfortunately only by Zoom, and I can't even see your faces. It's unfortunate. Like until a couple of weeks ago, it was meant to be on campus, but we had to take precautions. So unfortunately, you can come visit the campus individually, but these open house sessions, academic open house sessions, are going to be done by Zoom. So I'm sorry for that. That was not our plan. So I'd like to introduce myself and then introduce the rest of the panelists that are here. So I'm a faculty, my name is Elke Rundensteiner. I'm a faculty in computer science. I've been in computer science at WPI, I don't know, roughly 25 years. So a good part of my life. And about 7 or so years ago, together with colleagues, I created the data science program at WPI. And I'm now serving the director of that program. Next, I would like to introduce Professor Lane Harrison.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lane Harrison, associate professor in computer science. I do work in charts and visualization, so it was a natural fit to join the data science program. So I'm excited to talk about everything with you all here today.
And then we have 3 amazing students. I'm very grateful for them making their evening to come join us. They are at they're all volunteered. We didn't make them do this, and they're at different stages of their studies, which is kind of perfect because they can give you different perspectives. So I'd like to start with Adina. Would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Adina Polior. I'm a sophomore and I'm majoring in data science and computer science. Yeah, and I'm excited to talk with you all. Feel free to ask me anything.
And then maybe Miranda to go next.
Hi everyone, my name is Miranda. I graduated this past year with a bachelor's in data science, and I've continued on to do my master's in data science, which I will be continuing this year. So if you have any questions about like any combined programs and stuff like that, I'd be happy to answer that, or what the undergrad or master's program might look like.
So Miranda is our first, I think, the first batch of data science graduates, because the program is very new, and she switched over in the major and just graduated somehow at speed. So the last one is Luke.
Hi everyone, my name is Luke. I'm a 4th year PhD student in the data science department. I did my undergrad in computer science, also at WPI, but I made the switch to data science.
So he can give you the perspective of an undergrad degree here and under which conditions and why he's going on for a PhD program. So this was not planned, but it's like very nice. You can see different stage and different answers. All 3 of them have done a bachelor or are doing a bachelor in at WPI, so they can tell you a lot more about that. Many questions they will know, but they can answer much better than Professor Harrison or I could. What I'd like to do next is to share a brief PowerPoint with you. I will try to keep it very brief to give you a lot of chances to ask questions. But if I'm saying anything, your questions, feel free to interrupt me at any time. So I'm going to share this. So I think you're all able to see this now. So that's the information session that we usually do live on campus. I'm showing you as background, like this is where we're going, a picture of a new building that if you come to visit the campus, you get to see it. It's nearly done, will be done in January. And the exciting thing is that it's going to be the largest, very modern building on campus. And data science, along with other interdisciplinary programs, such as robotics, for example, will be moving into that building. So if you decide to come to WPI by the time that you would be coming in the fall, we would all be settled in and ready for you in the new building. So it's very exciting. It also shows you the commitment that WPI is making towards these interdisciplinary programs, including to data science. So I already introduced everybody, so I'm going to skip this. However, here are the emails. So we are happy to ask you further questions. If you log off by the end of this day and then suddenly you have this burning question, I would be very happy to answer further questions for you that you may have. You're free to email me, or you can find me on the webpage and ask me whatever you would like to ask. So the question is, what is this degree? Or what are you going to be able to achieve in this degree? Sorry, my computer's gone blank here. So the main, in a nutshell, what is data science? It's taking data that's available, applying tools and techniques to take that data and get insights, understand the data better, understand the patterns, figure out different predictions, and then solve problems that matter. So that's really at high level in a nutshell. And why is this important? Pretty much because data is everywhere, and in our increasingly digital world, pretty much everything that we do is powered one way or another by data and using that data effectively. So here's just a few quick examples. Clearly, when you are traveling now, most of us don't carry a map anymore. It's all digital. And a lot of it's very real time, where phones or cars are collecting information about traffic jams, all of it rerouting you. So that's something that is very automated, allows you mechanisms, allows you to enter data and visualize what is happening, and gives you some perspective about the world. So it affects all of us pretty much. Clearly shopping, online shopping, figuring out what to buy, what is available, sifting through all that data is something that's also impacting all of us. Voting systems, how to make that in a more fair system, protect that, and so on. So it's really endless. Here's just examples of that things that might directly affect you, but of course, the same is true for any kind of business, science, cancer research, whatever you look at, it's all driven by understanding previous data sets, making sense of them, and then driving decisions or advances in the field. It is a very important skill to have, and there are many quotes that you can find out loud, and we're also seeing that for students that are graduating, that there are many job openings out there across all branches of the industry spectrum, in science and engineering, in social science, everywhere, where you need these kind of data analytics and data science skills. So given that WPI has put together this degree program, but I wanted to just mention that while our undergraduate major is quite new, our master's program in data science was it's 8 years ago, time flies. We then added a PhD program, an undergrad minor, an online master's degree, and 2 years ago, we added the undergraduate major. But I want to emphasize that we are, from the very beginning, which is now 8 years ago, we have been hiring faculty and experts on this every year. So I was in the lucky position that WPI is strongly supporting this as a major. And literally every year, I had at least one or maybe two faculty all along. So we have the experts completely in place here, pretty amazing faculty, I think. And we also have built up all the courses all along. We didn't just create everything this last year. We created many of these courses over the last really 10 years or longer. Our program is relatively small because formally the undergrad major was created, it's just starting its second year. So it was created formally a year ago. So we had about 60 or so students in that first year, beginning students and students that were already along the path and converted to data science. So some of them, like Miranda, was already ongoing, did some CS, so maybe she can tell you her story later, some other courses, and then realized that that was kind of the major, that she actually really was trying to cobble together herself. And we now have the second cohort of students arrive. We also have a vibrant master's program and a very active PhD program. What is data science at WPI? It's really put together skills from computer science, computing, machine learning, building all the right tools in the analysis. It's mathematics and statistics and underlying analytics. And it's also understanding the problems that you're solving, the business know-how, how to work in teams to solve these problems. And this kind of reflects the 3 departments that are actively working in data science. So the faculty that would be teaching you would be either in the business school, in mathematical science, in statistics, or in computer science. And really you'll be exposed to all these different angles by both the material, but also the thought processes and the way these faculty think about the world in different ways. So that's the part of the interdisciplinary part. That's actually a very important way, because in the future in your job, you are going to be you're solving problems with data, you're building tools, but you're also going to be doing that for somebody. So you want to be able to understand the problem that you're solving. So having these very diverse skills is going to be very important. So what is unique about, or what I think is exciting about WPI, it applies to data science by being at WPI, that we have 7-week terms. So a semester is composed out of 2 terms. This allows us to package the material into a little bit smaller chunks and allow the student to more flexibly put sequences of courses together. And it also allows the student to switch if there's actually a class that they don't like as much before they know it, that class is over, and to choose a few more of the things that they actually would like to take. We have a large number of courses. I'll show you that a little bit later. We have project-based education. That's kind of a hallmark of WPI. It's like 40 or longer years ago, everything was changed over. It's the aim that we do both in our courses, we have projects, but ultimately also our whole degree program is composed out of a series of projects. And I think the undergrad students can tell you more about that, from the very freshman year to maybe second, third year to final, the qualifying projects that they're doing in their major. And that allows you to not just learn the material, but actually to try it out on real world data, often working with clients on projects. And so make sure that you're actually really hands-on, can solve these problems and do it for real. And we also have a very active BS/MS program. So we have a number of students that are doing the bachelor and already interleading grad courses while they're doing the bachelor, and then combining that. There's a lot of double counting, so they could do that easily in 5 years, but we have a number of students, if they are highly ambitious, and they're able to doing it in 4.5 or even less years by taking in courses, double counting them, and already moving the grad courses into the undergrad degree. And that is open to any student as long as they're able to cope with the undergrad degree. They have to apply for this MS portion, but we actually have a good number of students that are taking that opportunity. What are the educational outcome? Meaning, what are the kind of, at a high level, what are the kind of things that you would be learning? One is, of course, the technical skills. You will be learning techniques and tools, and also methodologies in analytics, computing, statistics, and business intelligence. But more generally, you will also be using a large variety of tools. So as you're going through, you'd be learning Python, you'll be learning MongoDB, TensorFlow, and so basically all the different toolkits are MATLAB, whatever the tools out there, that you have a large variety of tools under your belt. And when you go working in a company, they might have yet another tool, but you have tried out so many different ones that it will be very easy for you to pick up the next one and to use it. And lastly, you will also have some exposure to understanding the needs of customers and being able to do presentations and communicate back to tell you what the data is actually telling you, and being able to analyze and then report back the impact of the data or of the analytics that you have found. These are really important skills, especially the last one, as well as my advisory board keeps on telling me. They need to be able to communicate well and do teamwork and interact. They can't just do the technology and stop there. So here, this is meant to overwhelm, and that's probably achieving it. So we figured out how can we get all the courses that our students typically would take and put them all on one sheet. So I know you cannot see much, but the main point I'm trying to make here is that we have it broken down in structure by the different majors, so the computing courses, the relevant ones, business courses, and math courses. There are some core ones that all students will take. And then in addition, they can go into depths based on their interest. So we have some students coming from the business side that are much more interested in the business aspect, that take more business courses, that go lighter on the other two. And vice versa, we have some CS students that take a lot of CS courses and then mingle in the underlying necessary math or business courses, but they go lighter on the business side. So you can customize, there's some required ones, but you can customize a lot what kind of data scientist you want to be. If it's very programming heavy, or if it's more on the business side and analytics side. Because I know you couldn't see the previous one, so just give you some examples. Here are some courses that you might be taking. And most students would probably take all of these and many other ones. So for example, data access and management courses, we have a rich variety of them. Building software in some form and building tools, statistical learning, the underlying mathematical foundation for this decision-making, machine learning and AI, and of course, business modeling, business process modeling, and visual interfaces, visual analytics. This is just a few examples of courses. I want to just have one quick mention on MQP projects. So we have a lot of acronyms, but MQP is the last project you would do usually in your senior year. It's just one of the example of the kind of projects. Usually it's 3 to 5 students. It depends on the project and on the team. You'll be paired up as a faculty member. And we have 2 ways. Either a faculty member proposes a project and the team talks to faculty and chooses it, or students propose a project, or some of them go to project centers away from WPI and actually work with a company on a project. So it's really different options are possible. It is usually long, if it's on campus and it's long-term, close to most of the academic year, they'll be working on a problem that they're choosing, building actual solutions, all the way from designing what they want to solve, the problem, a proposal, to solving the solution, to evaluating the solution, all the way to presenting the results back. And we have a large event at the end of the year where they're presenting to each other, to the whole campus, basically pauses and focuses on how do we communicate our cool projects back to everybody else. And we have sponsors come on campus at that time that can see the amazing work that students have done. We have very dedicated industry collaborations. So many of these projects are industry driven and are sponsored or have industry partners that are actually helping to lead this project and define them. And hopefully they are fun. We're hoping to have fun at the same time, while of course they're very difficult, challenging, and also aiming to be professional, aiming to be able to basically deliver your first solution, full-fledged solution to a problem. Because we believe you cannot just be in the classroom and do homeworks. You actually have to solve something from the beginning to the end to learn how to make an impact. There are many companies that have funded and supported projects. And here's just a small subset of it. A number of those were for graduate students because we have done that much longer. We do something very similar. And we are now in the process of starting this as well for the undergraduate students in the last year. So if you're asking what kind of projects are possible, it is really everything, because these data science techniques really apply to any domain that you can think of, any problem. Is it neuroscience or is it mechanical engineering? Like pretty much any topic you tell me, I wouldn't be surprised if we hadn't done a project in it, because that's the great part. It really, there's so many domains out there that have data, digital data of some form, and that could benefit and could be automated by having data science techniques applied. But I wanted to take a quick pause there to give you a sense of these projects by maybe asking the students for a second before I keep going of an example, if they could give an example of a project. So I'm going to pause for a second. So I don't know, maybe
I can share
Adina.
a project.
Okay,
Yeah,
that'd be great.
yeah, so this past summer, I worked on a project with a data science professor that I had in Data Science 2010, which is our second data science core course. And it was a really great experience. Basically, what we were doing was using data mining as well as something called natural language processing, which is also a kind of a subset of data science. And we were using those tools to better predict the properties of vaccines, which is a material science kind of thing. And it was cool because at the end of the summer, myself and the two other undergraduates who were working on this project, we got to present it in an academic conference. And we kind of created a whole poster and got to share research and everything.
That sounds cool. And she's still early in her whole career. So that's.
Yeah. So I'm in my sophomore year now. So it was cool to be able to get that experience like pretty early on.
So Miranda, do you want to give an example?
Sure. So as Professor Runensteiner mentioned before, there's the MQP, which is, as I like to call it, the senior project. And so I worked with a team of students, and I was actually on a long-term project. So this was a project that previous students had worked on for, I think, like 4 or 5 years at this point. And so what I did was I mainly worked on collecting data from crowdsourcing platforms, which that's where like you pay people to like take a survey and answer questions. And I collected the data, I cleaned the data, I did analytics. And as I've moved on to my master's, I'm doing a thesis track, which means I take less classes, but I spend a large amount of time doing research. And so I'm doing the research as a continuation. So I'm running machine learning models on some of the data that I collected as an undergrad. And so that's just an example. There's a lot of different routes you can take. My undergrad projects have been more machine learning based, but my job is more business analytics based. So there's a lot of different areas that you can go with that in projects.
I don't know, Luke, whether you want to add something or you want to.
Yeah, I mean, when I was an undergrad doing my MQP, it was technically before the data science program existed, but a lot of the professors that I worked with and even the project that I was doing definitely falls into the category of data science. So I actually got to travel to Zurich and did essentially like an exchange program where I got to work with some professors in the Department of Financial Mathematics over there and do some predictive modeling for credit default data, which was an amazing experience.
So thank you. So it gives you a perspective. Some do it at WPI, some do it remote in a company, some do it in another country. It's really all over the place depending on what your interests are. So I want to quickly finish up the PowerPoint, nearly done. So I just wanted to mention, but I think it became clear through the projects, many of our undergraduate students have the opportunity to work with faculty directly, either through these projects or on some informal research activities. So in Adina's case, for example, it sounded like it wasn't one of the required formal projects that we're exposing students to, but faculty continue to do work all summer long. And so they engage with students that are interested to continue on research projects. We run a data science summer site that this year it had 30 something students in it, some from WPI and some from all over the country. Professor Lynn Harrison advised one of those teams that work together on research projects of interest. And it's both research and also the professional development. So we visit companies and we do a lot of practice of presentation skills, building a resume, doing mock interviews and all kinds of things to try to further both the professional skills as well as the technical data science skills. Okay, then the next, I want to briefly mention there is also some fun to be had. Everybody works very hard, but we have a lot of student organizations. And here I list a few of them. We have weekly coffee clutch where graduate and undergraduate students come together. That's organized all by students. Most of these things are student driven. We have a council that started with PhD students and grad students, but now has undergraduate students in there that think of activities to do, including running events, doing mentoring sessions for more junior students. We also have a data science club that was formed. Miranda helped initiate it, and it's now active and running, where also the students look at providing support and activities to other students, a community, basically providing a community to other students. And we run a Women in Data Science conference, symposium every year, and a lot of other activities. So we're working really hard on also having a community, because if you don't have a safe community, you don't have other students to work with, you can't have much fun. And you learn better that way. And so that's all I wanted to say. And then as last thing I wanted to mention, if you have questions after this is over, we all would be very happy to answer questions in the future. I'm going to stop sharing the PowerPoint so you can see us. And we're open to if you have any questions, we would be very happy to answer them orally or by typing. No questions? Otherwise, I have to come up with a question. That's hard. I have to ask myself a question. You guys have to help me out and ask a question. What's on your mind?
Oh, we have a question.
Is it easier to get into WPI as a data science major as opposed to applying into an engineering program? I'm going to let Emily answer that because it is like an admission question.
Yes. So when you apply to WPI, you just apply to WPI. You don't have to apply to a specific major or a school, and we don't have, caps on our majors either. So it's not harder to get into one major or the other because you're just applying to WPI. So you can essentially choose whatever you want to study when you come here. It does not matter what you want to study when we are looking at your application. So great question.
Yeah, we really would like you to study the thing that you want to study. If you want to study engineering, study engineering. Study what you want to study, because you live only once. You got to do the thing that you want to do. So the second question, Miranda, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I can at least answer part of it, and then if anyone has any comments to follow up. But in terms of recruitment from companies for undergrads, we have career fairs twice a year. There's one in the fall and there's one in the spring. So other companies will come to campus, and you'll get to talk to people, give them your resume, you'll give them an elevator pitch, talk about yourself. A lot of internships will come from that. I know a lot of people that got internships their freshman year, even between freshman and sophomore year. I did an internship with a company. I did it between my junior and senior year. And then I actually ended up getting hired at the end of that summer to get to work for them. And that's my current position. So I had a job lined up before I even went into my senior year. So because of the accelerated WPI program, a lot of the local companies know the strength of the students coming out of WPI, and they highly look for those students. So again, as Professor Runstein said, I think there was like 100% basically rate going to a job after graduating from WPI, if anyone wants to follow up with that.
Any follow-on question, Natalie? question is, do most data science majors pick a certain concentration or area?
I can talk a little bit about that. So personally, I haven't chosen like a specific concentration. I am doing a computer science major as well, because the way that the data science kind of undergraduate tracking works is that there is a lot of computer science classes within there. And then you do 3 core classes that are specifically data science. And what those core classes kind of do is they tie in your computer science knowledge and as well as some of the things that you've learned in business classes, because that's kind of like the other part of it. And then also the math class that you take, which is like applied statistics and calculus and stuff like that. And I would say that personally, so I'm also doing a minor in law and technology. And so I would say that a lot of people kind of end up doing minors and stuff like that, just with like being able to tie in other things that they're interested in with their majors.
So I wanted to add on, so the concentrations, I mean, that they all have some business, like they have these C directions, the 3 areas, but of course you have to take other courses. You have to take some science. So I didn't list all the generic requirements. And there are students that are kind of working with material science faculty and end up applying, making their project into that direction all the way through. Or maybe we have a number of students interested in healthcare. So while they're studying data science, they then take the more biology and health-oriented classes, and their projects can be focused in that direction. So a number of students do that, but it depends on if there is an area of interest that they're really trying to target. And the second question by Natalie was, what kind of study abroad activities are available for data science majors? You guys, can one of you talk a little bit about IQPs first?
Sure. So every student, no matter their major, will do, COVID permitting, a study abroad project. I was actually the last of groups that got to go. Since my group, no one else, I think besides a couple this semester, are going to get to go abroad. But there's the IQP, which is a humanities-based like social science project. So you will go to a location. I went to Costa Rica and I got to work with a community fund. I did surveys and I got to do analytics for them, and all sorts of just fun activities, exploring the area, getting to talk with locals. And that's kind of the experience, no matter what your project happens to be, wherever you happen to go. We have locations in many, many countries. So you get to like rank your different priorities. So no matter your major, there's going to be an opportunity for that, for you to get to study abroad. For data science specific, I know that there are some opportunities to do your MQP abroad. So there's some interest for some students to also study abroad and work with a company or go to some other country to do their major qualifying project.
So then one example of that would be Luke.
Yeah, exactly. My project, my MQP was just through a connection that the professor I worked with had. So, yeah.
So, but it was as ZHAW, right?
Yeah.
So that's actually that we have an active standing collaboration with that university. We currently have an exchange student that is from that university studying in the data science group, actually. And it's something that relationship is kind of at the dean level through a variety of departments. So there's some biology students that go back and forth every year to Switzerland and back, and also some computer science students and data science students. So there is a two-way direction. I think it started a few years ago, but it's very active now on these relationships. I don't know as much about most of the projects that I know about are like Wall Street or Silicon Valley are more within the country projects. So I don't know as much about abroad projects. But it turns out that the number, I would even say the IQPs, a number of the IQPs are already doing analytics because they're usually collecting data and analyzing data. So the students that already have analytic skills picked up through their major are usually the ones that are going to be sought after because they are the ones that actually know how to do that stuff and get the project really moved forward. So in that sense, I would say that many of these IQPs have some analytics component, and a data science student could really shine on them in that sense. But we haven't gone out and created additional remote project sites specific to data science. So then the next question was by Amit. He's asking that he knows Python and R from school. That's amazing. And that he also has done some CNNs. He's asking, what are the opportunities at WPI to pursue research in the area of medical imaging? Actually, this summer, this RU site we ran, there was a project on medical imaging and was brain scans. So that project looked at brain scans to try to understand, distinguish, I forget what disease they were studying. Luke, do you remember which disease they were studying?
I can't say that I do. I want to say Alzheimer's, but
it could. I should remember this now. It was, yeah. And so there's large public data sets available. We also have a neuroscience department that is collecting images, and there's more projects ongoing on that both undergrad NQPs and grad students. They're looking at these neuroscience scans and trying to predict other type of diseases. So there is actually active research on that as we speak. And faculty are very interested. If there's a highly motivated student that wants to join in and dive in, faculty are usually excited to have them participate. So yes, I think there would be definitely opportunity for that. But it may turn out that when you get here, that there's so many other opportunities, maybe you find something else you want to do. Because that often happens. You think you're going to come here to do X, but then you're going to do Y. But definitely you would have opportunities to participate in research and to push yourself further based on what your interests are.
there are even opportunities to do research with like graduate students. So I'm actually teaching an independent study this semester to a current sophomore in the data science department. So plenty of opportunity.
So we had the summer research summer site we ran. Students from WPI participated in them, and I forgot to mention they are fully paid during the summer. They get free housing at WPI, and we pay them a good stipend, and they get paid for their travel back and forth wherever they are. And then we have faculty and students work with them. So Luke was mentoring a team of these students as PhD student, and they did amazing work. The work that was done this summer is published now at a conference. And one of the students, the WPI student, was so interested and excited to say, I want to do more. I want to continue on that project. I don't want to stop now. So he switched over and is continuing to work with Luke now on that same project to keep it going and do that as independent study in this A and B term instead of taking more classes. So that's an opportunity that's there, and it's real. You're welcome, Amit. So are you actually in India right now? Because if you are, it must be very late at night, isn't it? Or are you originally from India?
It's India. It might be early in the morning. I think they're like
early in the morning.
Yeah, I think they're
4:30 a.m. Oh my God.
Oh my
You must be, I don't know, you must be tired.
The dedication.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. Oh.
I hope you're not keeping everybody around you awake.
Well, last chance to put any questions in the Q&A. If anybody else has anything, feel free to put them in now.
Not tired. Okay.
Great. So I think if nobody else has any questions, I think we can end the session there. Does anybody else have any kind of last remarks they want to say before we end the session? No? Yep. So yeah, like everybody said, feel free to contact anybody that you met today. You have their emails, and they'd be happy to answer your questions if you have any follow-up questions about data science or computer science. They both kind of go hand in hand. And if you have any admissions related questions, feel free to email the admissions office. We'd be glad to help you as well. But yeah. Thank you so much for coming, everyone, and for taking the time out of your day to make it here, whatever your time zone is. And feel free to check out our other department sessions and sign up for those as well if you're interested in other departments or majors at WPI. Great.
Nice meeting all of you
Yeah.
virtually.
Yes, thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
Have a great night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.